Have you ever wondered how some criminals manage to pull off extraordinary crimes, outsmarting the law and disappearing without a trace? In this video, we're going to explore the fascinating stories of the most brilliant criminals who have defied justice. These are the masterminds who executed daring heists, staged brilliant escapes, and evaded capture for years, leaving authorities baffled. Stay with us as we uncover these mind-blowing tales of genius criminality. The master of deception, Frank Abagnale. Our first story begins with Frank Abagnale, a man who became notorious for his brilliant skills in deception. At just 16 years old, Frank set out on a criminal journey that would make him one of the most famous con artists in history. What set Frank apart from other criminals was his ability to impersonate almost anyone. Whether it was a pilot, doctor, or lawyer, Frank had an uncanny ability to adopt these identities and blend in seamlessly. His most notorious crime was forging checks that allowed him to steal millions of dollars from banks and institutions across the United States. One of his most impressive feats was flying over 1 million miles without being caught, all while posing as a commercial pilot. His charm, confidence, and flawless performance made him nearly untouchable. For 5 years, Frank stayed ahead of the law, moving from city to city, adopting new identities, and executing elaborate cons. But it wasn't just the crimes that were impressive. It was his ability to remain undetected despite constant investigation. However, in 1969, after a lengthy manhunt, he was eventually caught in France. But here's the unexpected twist. Instead of being forgotten, Frank became an asset to the FBI. With his insider knowledge of fraud and deception, he helped authorities catch other criminals. Frank served only 5 years of his 12-year sentence before being released. Today, Frank is recognized as one of the world's leading experts on fraud prevention. His story is an incredible example of how intelligence, charisma, and ingenuity can outsmart even the most advanced law enforcement agencies. The skyjacker, D.B. Cooper. Next, we move to one of the most mysterious criminals in aviation history, D.B. Cooper. On November 24, 1971, a man who called himself D.B. Cooper boarded a Northwest Orient Airlines flight in Portland, Oregon. He appeared to be just another ordinary passenger, dressed in a suit and carrying a briefcase. But as the flight reached cruising altitude, Cooper handed a flight attendant a note, revealing he had a bomb. He then demanded $200,000 in cash for parachutes and a fuel truck ready to take him to Mexico. The airline quickly complied with his demands, and the plane was rerouted to Seattle, where Cooper released the passengers and kept the crew and the money. As the plane took off again, heading toward Mexico, Cooper jumped out into the night, parachuting into the dense wilderness of the Pacific Northwest, $200,000 in hand. Authorities immediately launched an investigation, but despite years of searching and countless theories, they could not find any trace of him. His disappearance only deepened the mystery. Despite a massive manhunt and numerous investigations over the years, no one has ever found D.B. Cooper. His true identity remains a mystery to this day, and the money he stole was never fully recovered. The FBI closed the case in 2016, but D.B. Cooper's legacy lives on as one of the greatest unsolved criminal mysteries. The heist of the century, the Great Train Robbery. On August 8, 1963, a gang of criminals pulled off one of the most daring heists in history, the Great Train Robbery. The target was a Royal Mail train traveling from Glasgow to London, carrying millions of pounds in cash and valuables. The robbers had spent months meticulously planning their attack. Using insider knowledge, they stopped the train at a remote spot in the countryside, set up a fake signal to halt the train, and ambushed the crew. With precision and efficiency, the robbers overpowered the crew and forced them to open the carriage filled with cash. They then made off with £2.6 million, the equivalent of £50 million today, without firing a single shot. The operation was so expertly executed that, for a time, the police had no clue who the robbers were or how they managed such a flawless crime. What makes this heist even more astonishing is that many of the thieves managed to evade capture for years, despite a large-scale investigation. While some members of the gang were eventually caught, many others escaped with their loot. To this day, a significant portion of the stolen money has never been recovered. The Great Train Robbery remains one of the most famous and daring heists in British history. The Merchant of Death, Victor Bout. Victor Bout, often referred to as the Merchant of Death, was one of the most feared arms dealers in modern history. Born in the Soviet Union in 1967, Bout initially served in the military, where he learned the logistics of transporting goods. After the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, he recognized the opportunity in the black market and began using his network of former military officers and aircraft to move weapons across the globe. Bout's operations spanned continents, supplying weapons to warlords, terrorists, and rogue states. He played a key role in fueling violent conflicts in Africa, Asia, and South America. His most notorious client was Liberian dictator Charles Taylor, whom he supplied arms during the Sierra Leone Civil War. For nearly 2 decades, Victor operated under the radar, untouchable and elusive. Despite his extensive network and well-hidden operations, the law eventually caught up with him. His reign came to an end in 2008 when he was arrested in Thailand during a sting operation orchestrated by the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. Bout was attempting to sell arms to Colombian rebels, a deal that would violate international law. Extradited to the United States, he was sentenced to 25 years in prison for conspiracy to kill U.S. citizens and supporting terrorism. Victor Bout's story serves as a chilling reminder of the power one person can hold when they control the flow of deadly weapons across the world. The Kingpin, El Chapo Guzman. Finally, last but not least, we have the Kingpin, El Chapo Guzman. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was one of the most powerful drug lords in history. As the leader of Mexico's Sinaloa cartel, he controlled much of the world's illegal drug trade, smuggling vast quantities of cocaine, marijuana, and other drugs into the U.S. and beyond. His rise to power was marked by his intelligence, ruthlessness, and several dramatic prison escapes, which only added to his legendary status. Born in 1957 in the mountains of Sinaloa, Mexico, El Chapo rose from poverty to become the leader of one of the most powerful criminal organizations in the world. By the 1990s, he had established control over the cartel and began smuggling drugs on a massive scale. What made El Chapo notorious was his ability to evade capture. After being arrested in 1993, he famously escaped from a high-security prison in 2001, hiding in a laundry cart. But his most impressive escape came in 2015 when he escaped from another high-security prison, this time through a tunnel that led from his cell to a house outside the prison walls. El Chapo's audacity and ability to carry out such elaborate escapes cemented his place in criminal history. After being on the run for 6 months, he was finally captured in 2016. He was extradited to the U.S. and sentenced to life in prison, plus 30 years. Despite his capture, the legend of El Chapo lives on, as his story continues to capture the imagination of people all over the world. These are just a few of the most brilliant criminals who managed to outsmart the law in astonishing ways. From daring heists to brilliant escapes, their stories are a testament to the lengths some will go to evade justice. While many of them are now behind bars, their legacies live on, continuing to fascinate and captivate people across the globe. If you enjoyed these incredible stories and want to hear more, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We've got plenty more shocking tales to tell, and you won't want to miss them. Stay tuned for our next video, where we'll reveal even more incredible tricks criminals use to escape from prison. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button now.